Oh, I got some juicy news for you. Profit First app version 2.0 is here. With an enhanced user experience and video guidance throughout, you can now be even more confident in your Profit First implementation. Plus, listeners who work with a certified Profit First professional get extra benefits. Check it out now at www.profitfirstapp.com.
Today, right here, right now, this is the moment that you will finally say,
I'm growing my accounting practice, and you're going to discover exactly how right here, right now,
on the Grow My Accounting Practice podcast.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Ron Saharian, co-founder of Profit First Professionals.
And I am Liz Bourne, a guide here at Profit First Professionals. Where am I?
You're at your headquarters.
Oh.
And I'm Mike McCallowitz. I'm the author of a brand new book coming out called The Money Habit. It's personal finances. And yes, there's lessons from Profit First. I'm also the author of Profit First, co-founder along with Ron of Profit First Professionals. And you are listening to GMAP, stands for Grow My Accounting Practice. This is a show where we teach you the step-by-step to do that. And you're going to learn it through great guest interviews today. Sir Darren Jacklin is joining us. We're going to talk about what to do if you're preparing to transfer out of the accounting industry. And there's many opportunities that are afoot. Plus, Ron had an insider access, and I got a GMAP Now task free.
Yep. And of course, this episode is brought to you by Impact Global Solutions, Lawrence Whitman. What a great firm. This is a company that helps educate accounting and bookkeeping firms on how to properly prepare, systemize, and select the correct outsourcing partner.
Oh, and he's been such a help to so many of our members. He just consults and is just a really thoughtful, good guy. We like the good guys. Right, guys? Like you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
We like the good guys. And
like the good guys.
we like a good studio setup. And Liz, you really transformed that space by adding that book over your left shoulder.
I did not do it. Mr. Saharian just ran in like this, like cartoon run to put it back there.
Oh, like the front
Not
lines.
only that, Liz had some crazy blue ribbon back there.
I did not.
Liz, come on.
It wasn't mine. It was Mike's. That was
Mike's.
definitely mine. I'm not going to take credit for anything, good or bad. That was Mike's. It was your old lanyard, and I couldn't get it
Oh,
off.
the
so I
blue
had to
ribbon.
cut it.
Yeah. Well, the
Okay.
space is remarkably better. Ron, well done.
Thank you, Ron. He did actually really bust a move in here. It's
Well,
really
Mike,
much nicer.
we also got other news, the television show, right? How's that coming up?
Not yet. Yep, that's coming up. That's just because I can't disclose any more details, but there's some exciting stuff coming.
Oops.
Yeah, no, it's okay. We can announce in July. This is only June, but there's a teaser. Something funny.
Something's
Teaser.
coming. Something's coming,
Something's
everybody.
Something's coming.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
But here's the exciting news. Ron's business partners here. Sir
So
Darren Jacklin and Ron are business partners in an investing business. You got to check out what they're doing and got going on. Sir Darren Jacklin is a global speaker, philanthropist, and first independent board member of EXP World Holdings. You remember that those real estate firm signs were always EXP in our neighborhood. And Darren's the guy behind the scenes that made that company so successful, with a legacy of training leaders at 157 Fortune 500 companies and a mission to raise over $100 million through Link Foundation. His impact spans business and global change. Thank you for being here. And today we are going to talk about the transition that you're going to experience in your firm. Darren, welcome to the show.
Grateful to be here. I'm really inspired by you. This is great.
Inspired by you, and so it's going to be a lot of patting each other's backs, perhaps. But there is a lot of change afoot, and something you were sharing off air was people are retiring out, but the replacement folks aren't coming in. Like, what's going on?
Well, we're seeing a huge shift right now across North America and internationally with baby boomers, right? It's all over the place, and there's lots of research on this. In the accounting industry, for example, just in the United States of America, approximately 100,000, like get that, 100,000 licensed chartered professional accountants, CPAs, between now and the year 2030 are set to transition out of the accounting industry. So your
That's
accountant
this many years.
Yeah,
That's this many years.
5.
5.
we're 5 years away.
20,000 people every year.
Yikes!
Yeah, we're seeing a huge change, and their children don't want to get into the accounting, bookkeeping, tax planning business. People are scared about artificial intelligence, but the thing is, the IRS are still using fax machines in 2025, right? So, and they're slow to change, and we all know accountants' personality style. The majority of them don't like risk and they don't like change, so they're slow. How many accountants do we see today, or bookkeepers, that still use the filing cabinet system? You go to their bricks and mortar office, they still got the old filing cabinets. They've been around, still the old carpet from the 1970s and 1980s, right? And so they're slow to change. And so with Smashing Numbers, and what we're doing is we're doing a roll-up strategy of acquiring these bookkeeping, accounting, and tax bonding firms across the United States and Canada. We're creating culture and inspiring an environment and empowering these men and women, but also educating and informing the masses of the population. You know, my background is in primary real estate. I served 10 years as the public director on EXP Realty, and helped build, at the time, the fastest growing residential real estate company in the world. And I had many private conversations with licensed real estate agents coming to me and saying, I'm behind on paying the IRS on my taxes in CRA in Canada. What can I do? And this is how I came about with Smashing Numbers and meeting with Ron. And your book was, how do we solve a problem? Because these people are out there hustling and grinding every day as commissioned salespeople, but yet they're not paying their taxes on time and being in compliance and being in integrity. And so I got in this industry in full transparency, because I'm an authentic person. Back in my 30s, I went 9 years without paying my taxes, until I had 2 federal agents show up at my doorstep and told me, if I don't come outside and deal with this, that they're going to put me in jail. This is 20 plus years ago. And so I had a lot of pain in my life from that, and a complete lack of integrity. I was totally out of integrity. And so at age 38, it was a wake-up call for me. I'm 53 now, but at age 38, I had a wake-up call, realizing I got to get my life in order and be accountable and responsible for who I am. Because I was this guy that wouldn't open up my mail, avoided the government at all costs, was anti-government, all this kind of stuff. And I thought, you know what? I'm getting older and I need to grow up and be a man, because I'm a little boy here acting out of fear and doubt and worry. And that was a big turning point. But you'd be amazed how many people today, even with what's going on with the US politics right now, how many people are saying, well, I don't want to pay my taxes because so-and-so's in power. The thing is, we should be grateful that we live in these first world countries, that we can pay taxes. And yeah, I don't always agree with the spending and stuff like that the government does, but I'm grateful to have paved roads and military and hospitals. And I'm grateful to have what we have today, living in these first world countries.
Yeah. So what are you, when you're exploring firms, okay, for an acquisition, what are you seeing out there? Like, I mean, a lot of these firms aren't necessarily preparing, or it's taking or prepare. Some aren't selling, some are selling for a little. I mean, what's your observation of what you're seeing about firms, and what can they do to better prepare themselves?
So I'll give you a practical example. So I've looked at 68 accounting firms just in the last 4 days. Okay. 68 firms from all over North America. And what's interesting, I'm just going to give a plug for you guys. I find from my own experience, in terms of discovering due diligence, that when people are a profit first client, they actually are more profitable, they're actually more organized, and they're much more easier to deal with.
You're welcome.
That makes,
You're welcome.
yeah. So thank you for what you're doing, because I notice a measurable difference in terms of discovering due diligence with people who've
So
studied.
wait, are you saying you talk to a certified profit first firm?
Yes. Well, we talked to, yes, certified profit first firms and non. And a lot of this comes from, lawyers, accountants, financial planners, financial advisors. They refer through their business networks across North America of different men and women that are retiring. Because some of these people, they don't want to publicly disclose that they may want to sell their accounting or bookkeeping firm. They don't want their employees knowing or their clients knowing. So they're really on the down low. And I respect that confidentiality. And some, we know they're 68, 71 years. My accountant, I've been with him for almost 20 years. He's 75 years of age. I've only ever had 2 accountants in my life. My first one died, and my last one is 75 now. The average person in North America stays with an accountant on average of 17 years.
Wow.
That's the retention, is 17 years in North America.
That's amazing.
So we're seeing a lot of changes right now in terms of people exiting out and retiring. And then we're starting to see notices go out by mail or by email electronically saying, hey, this is my last year being an accountant or a bookkeeper. You're going to have to find somebody else going forward. Because some of them, you'd be surprised how many accountants do not know how to sell their business. They don't know how to go through the transition planning process. They're accountants. They stay in their lane. They're very linear. They do what they've been educated on for many, many years. And I've run across many of them who've just shut down their practices because they don't know what to do and how to transition out.
Wow.
So of the 68 that you looked at in the last 4 days, what, besides the awesome ones that are doing profit first and have some clarity, what are you looking for, and what are you seeing that is concerning? We'll start with the.
So with Smashing Numbers, we like to look at 70% bookkeeping, 30% tax, and we'll add payroll in there as well, because we like the monthly recurring revenue for our business model. So we like monthly recurring revenue, MRR. But also what we're doing with Smashing Numbers is bringing what we call ancillary services. So we're like a Walmart, a one-stop shop, because you build trust with your CPA or your EA or with your accounting team that you have. So what we're doing is we're looking for an opportunity where we can level that company up over the next 12 to 24 to 36 months going forward, where we can enhance it and we can take the clientele, because we're doing customer acquisition, we can take those customers and help them grow and scale their businesses through our ancillary services offerings, from business coaching, business consulting, helping with wills and estates and trusts, insurances, fractional CFO. Like a lot of people, I was on a call yesterday with a gentleman who's like, Darren, I need to hire a CFO, but I can't afford $250,000, $300,000 yet. I'm like, what about a fractional CFO? He goes, I don't even know what that is. So, and how many small business owners are growing and scaling to 6 figures or even 7 figures that don't know on a part-time basis they can hire a fractional CFO remotely, right? Anywhere in the country to come in and work 4 or 5, 10 hours a week or 20 hours a month for that firm and have a set retainer rate per month. So we can do that at Smashing Numbers. So it's also about educating and informing the client, because a lot of the accountants, they're relationship type people, a lot of them, but they don't spend a lot of time on the follow-up and the customer service and the customer experience. You get that notice once a year that you got to come in and pay your taxes, or you get the invoice for your bookkeeping, but they're so busy, they're not building those relationships. And we want to build the relationship equity where they get to know us and like us.
How
and
are
trust us.
how are you managing the staff, right? Like my experience, I know I'm talking to a lot of our members, and I've talked to accounting firms over the past 10 years. A lot of the owners are raising staff, raising staff, literally like raising children. And a lot of them are, have been with some of these legacy firms for 10, 15, 20 years. And, we had, one profit first professional firm sold to private equity, right? And they stripped everything out. Are
Yeah.
you seeing, what are you seeing that, or what's your opinion on that kind of stuff?
So with private equity, it's more transactional than relational. It's all about the numbers with a lot of private equity firms, the majority of them, and they don't care. I'm a big believer that if you take care of the people in the organization, they'll take care of the company. So you invest in your people, you invest in your human resources, you build your culture, you build your environment. So what we find is that I'm always believing it's good to be in the attraction business. Then if you're out there doing good and you're doing things right with high levels of accountability, responsibility, and integrity, you will attract top talent people to you, because people always want to go where they can grow and expand and develop themselves, right? We all know those companies out there that have such a high attrition rate, high turnover rate. You're like, oh my gosh, I'd never go over work with them or refer them or have my kids work there. And yet there's other companies that we can name brand names that feel like, oh my gosh, like for example, here in Vancouver, Canada, Lululemon is headquartered here in Vancouver. This is where it started. Chip Wilson.
Never heard of it.
Yeah.
When we were in
2
Vancouver,
daughters,
my wife
so
and I,
definitely heard about it.
my wife and I were walking through Vancouver a few months ago. She's like, Lululemon, pointing them all out.
Totally. And if you meet Chip and Shannon Wilson, who I've met the founders many times, I'm a big hiker, so I see them all the time on the hiking trails, the Grouse Grind in North Vancouver here. But they built a culture, and they went and disrupted it. They're selling yoga pants, and remember when they first came out, but they've changed the environment. And so I think that with the accounting, bookkeeping, tax plan industry, even though it's boring, it's not sexy, we can make it sexy and fun by infusing a different culture, a different environment. But then people feel inspired and empowered to want to work there, because it's the same old repetitive stuff that they're doing all the time, right? And some of these people, personality style, they don't want to deal with the public so much. They like to be, alone by themselves, crunching numbers, looking at spreadsheets and looking at tax receipts. That's okay. But for the people who want to grow and expand, we want to infuse that, because, at the end of the day, I always look at, when we look at KPIs, key performance indicators and metrics, people always look at what's the return on investment. I always look at what's the return on life, ROL, what's the return on life, and ROE, what's the return on energy. You want to have energy at the end of the day to come home and greet your spouse or partner sitting together, to play with your children, to take your dog for a walk in the evening. You want to have that return on energy. And today people are qualifying their time, they're protecting their time, but they also want to buy back their time. So people today are very selective of where they engage their energy and what cultures and which environments. And people have a lot of choices today because of the World Wide Web today. You've got opportunities everywhere for remote work. So we want to make sure we created a culture that also, when somebody is selling their accounting, bookkeeping, or tax planning business, it's a legacy for them. They've spent years or decades building up that practice, those long-term generational relationships. Some of them are first, second, third generations. I looked at a firm yesterday. It was 1956. It's been around for since 1956. Looked at another one the other day. It was 1963, 1978. So some of these are legacy firms. They've been around for many years, and they want to make sure that they're intact and they're going to outlive them. And that's what I want to make sure is that when I'm talking to these owners, these accountants and bookkeepers and tax people, I want to make sure that their legacy is intact and we keep it good standing. We actually build it even bigger than they thought they could ever imagine doing that.
I want to get back to kind of the core question. So you said 100,000 CPAs are exiting over the next 5 years.
Correct.
Liz was kind enough to show the number on the screen.
You're
What
welcome.
what do accountants and bookkeepers listening in right now do to prepare for that? It sounds like there's going to be a windfall of opportunity coming their way or a windfall of new demand. So how do they prepare if you're going to stay in the game?
Yeah, so you can talk to like a business attorney, like a lot of accountants talk
Mm.
to lawyers. So business attorney, some like to do with business brokers, some don't. And some, if you belong to different associations and there's people there that are other members of those associations, like Rotary International or BNI or EO, for example, some different organizations, to talk to other business professionals who you've got a relationship with and say, look, I'm looking at selling my business and I don't even know what the first step is.
Oh, I meant the reverse. What if you plan to stay in the game? Sorry if I didn't say
Yeah.
that right. What do you do if so many people are exiting and I want to stay in the game? It sounds like a windfall of new opportunity, but maybe
Absolutely.
maybe I'm not prepared for something. How do I prepare for the change? Like maybe is a better
Sure.
question.
Well, so here's something to consider. It's easier to acquire revenue than to actually create revenue. So a lot of people
Interesting. Yeah.
do it old school, right? Where, trade shows, networking events, conferences, seminars, workshops, running ads, yellow pages, all that stuff that we used to do years ago. And so people do it the old way, but it's easier to do acquisitions where you do customer acquisition. So it's easier to acquire a cash flow producing business, been around for many years. I always use this analogy. Okay. If you want to stay in the game, you have young children and you're in the potty training business, you're in the diaper changing business. So do you want to go through all those young years? You can, or you wait till they're about 12 years old and then all of a sudden there's no diaper change, there's no potty training. So what I like is I like mature companies that have went through that startup phase. So we take a lot of risk off the table. And now this company has established a few hundred clients. And now how do we take those clients and do customer acquisition? And then how do we provide ancillary services? So now we introduce them to multiple different products and service offerings, which then increases our cash flow, but also increases the retention of that client because now we've got
Mm.
more offerings to them. So if
Liz,
you're going
did
to
you get
stay
that?
in
If
the game,
Liz, if
Yeah.
you want to grow your family further, adopt 12-year-olds. Lots of mom.
Yeah. Ew, mom. You're so stupid.
Isn't that what
Yeah.
Woody Allen did?
Oh, jeez.
So
But I
Oh,
think what
boy.
Darren is saying, there's two opportunities. One is to, offer additional services, more consultative
Mhm.
services, modernize your firm, upgrade, start using AI. And the other one is, hey, you know what? You're gonna spend a boatload of money on going ads, trade shows, this, that, all this other stuff. Maybe there's a way where you can finance buying a book of business.
yeah, it's really
Then,
interesting.
yeah, you have that book, and then you roll out the ancillary services.
one of the companies I served as a board of directors member of, okay, because I serve on multiple different boards of directors of companies. One of the companies that I serve on the board of directors of, we were paying 7 figures a year just in auditing fees and consulting
Wow.
to one of the big four accounting firms. And they were more focused on the consulting, the business consulting and the auditing with us than actually doing the books because there's more money. And if you look at the big four, they love to do business consulting. So my partner with Smashing Numbers, Carl Gould, actually I think you guys, Mike, Carl and
He's amazing. Yeah.
Yep.
Carl has an incredible history and experience of a track record of coaching, but he's this low profile, humble guy. Well, he's my partner in Smashing Numbers. So we introduced business coaching and consulting. I always say to people, what if you could get access to a person who helped a guy like Tony Robbins become international with his coaching program? What if you could have a seat at that person's table and be mentored by that person in terms of structure and systems and processes, right? Because proximity is power. It's about who you get access to. Myself, with being knighted a few years ago, through my background in corporate training for 25 years, a lot of business stuff, I have access to a lot of the who's who around the world of men and women, a lot of professionals. So what I love to do is I love to see people grow and scale and succeed. So when people are clients of ours, why wouldn't I want to help them succeed and grow and scale? I want to see people be 30 under 30, 40 under 40 business owners. I want to see somebody. I introduced Carl Gould to someone the other day. I was on a conference Zoom video call a couple months ago. And this woman, she put up her hand and she says, my husband and I have a landscaping business right now. We're doing about $250,000 a year in revenue. And we're in Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. And we want to grow our business to $1 million. We have no idea how to do it. So I Googled her name, got her phone number, and called her and made an introduction for her. Now Carl and her are meeting together in person.
Oh, man.
Just on the telephone.
know,
She's so excited by
it's-
that.
Your network is your net worth.
Yes.
Think about that. And so, if you have opportunities to partner with guys like Mike, with Carl, with, Darren, I mean, these guys, when you're working with them, you're working with their network as well. They genuinely, honestly want you to succeed, and that's awesome.
Yeah. Because the thing is, a lot of small businesses, you're just running, you're in the day-to-day operations, you're hustling, you're grinding, you're running, you're coming from a lot of fear because you're like, my gosh, what if I don't make my payroll, right? What happens when an unexpected emergency or financial bill comes in place, right? There's all these what ifs, yeah, buts, things are going on. But if you could get access as a small business owner to somebody who could guide and direct you and help you grow and scale your business and help you mitigate risks and take some risks off the table and mitigate those exposures, it's a huge plus for you. And so that's what I like to do is I like to help people in that area.
And so I'm going to go off course here. You've been knighted. What does that mean? I mean, I'm thinking England. I'm thinking, well, I know, but
Great question. Yeah. So
and
Kat,
how does that
Yeah.
help with business?
a good question. Yeah. So here's the key thing. Never assume you're not being observed. Never assume you're not being observed. And I traveled this world many times. When I was doing corporate training seminars for 25 years, I was traveling 276 days a year on the road globally, total of 50 countries on 4 continents. And I was going to different charity events, conferences, seminars, workshops, these different events. And I had people watch and observe me to see if I was moving my feet and not my lips. Because we all know, in the business world that talk is cheap, but most people cheapen their talk because their words have no power. Right? Their words have no power because they speak out of their mouth, but their feet don't match the lips. So there's a lack of integrity there. And so people saw me consistently in terms of how I was training, developing myself. I was leveling up, I was skilling up. And a few years ago, I got nominated to the Royal Order. And so when I got a phone call from the Royal Order, I was like, whoa, this is okay. What is this? I didn't really know what this was all about. So I had 2 people nominate me. And so at the time, there was over 400 people in the world that were nominated to the Royal Order. And there's 8 different categories. I was chosen under the area of philanthropy with Link Foundation for us building 100 schools around the world, working with mental health awareness, helping to alleviate poverty and provide access to clean drinking water and food security and education. And the other one was entrepreneurship. So my background, I was homeless. I lived on the streets. I've been on welfare. In fact, 30 years ago, I was so financially broke, I had an R9 credit rating. Most people don't know what an R9 credit rating is.
Never heard.
Google it. An R9 credit rating is the worst possible credit score you can get in North America. In fact, it's worse than bankruptcy.
Congratulations.
Yes. And I held that for about 7 years and I turned it around to becoming financially very successful over time. So I know what it's like to be declined by everybody. I know I was so financially broke. I went to the Hells Angels and I sat down with the Hells Angels in a pub one day to get a hard money loan at 49% interest. And they turned me down at 49% interest. And the agreement was if I didn't pay it back, I got my legs broken. That
Yeah.
was the agreement in the pub.
Like run over by a Harley. Like they run you over. Right? That's
Yeah,
how break your
they have
legs.
people who they don't make phone calls, they make house calls. And they have people who come out and they collect the money and you go for a ride. And yeah, it's a different experience. It's a different collection business.
Awesome.
And
I can't wait to watch your movie. I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I've been blessed in my life to overcome a lot of adversities and challenges and setbacks. And I've been to NASDAQ 3 times to ring the closing bell. And I was a kid who barely passed public high school. Help as a board member to help take a company from a startup to a multi-billion-dollar company with 87,000 licensed realtors in 24 countries on 5 continents. Stuff that blew people's minds away. And then being knighted, coming from a small town in Canada, some Canadian citizen, to be knighted one of 24 people in the world. So when I got knighted 3 years ago, I made 2 public global declarations. Number 1 was to be a global ambassador for mental health awareness. We all know people in our lives who've been impacted some form by mental health. Number two was to take on the accountability and the responsibility with Link Foundation, which is a foundation I co-founded with All of My Life, Tatiana, to help alleviate poverty, provide access to clean drinking water, food security, and education, because the secret to living is giving. And I always say to people, if you want to have more joy, more aliveness, and more fulfillment and a better return on life and return on energy, go out and be of service to other people. Because our success is someone else's miracle. Our success is someone else's miracle. And the more successful we become in terms of prosperity and abundance, the more we can be of service and create a ripple of impact to other people. That's why I love entrepreneurship. That's why I love seeing people grow and expand and scale their business, become more cash flow positive through multiple revenue streams, because then they can do more good in their communities. They can take better care of their families. And then they can start to learn how to buy back their time and qualify their time so they can do what's a higher priority in their values of life, of what they value most in their life. Because some people are in the trenches all the time, hustling and grinding, but they have no quality of life with their family or with their children or things that matter most in their lives, their hobbies. So that's why I love with what we do at Smashing Numbers, is to create that environment where we can train and develop people to become the best version of who they are as a human being, because hurt people hurt people. And when you can empower people and enrich people's lives to be better in terms of gratitude, counting their blessings and be grateful. I've met many accountants who are burnt out. I've met many accountants who are just doing the same old treadmill thing, but there's no aliveness, there's no joy, there's no fulfillment. They're just there because they've been doing it over and over and over again as a vicious cycle. And they're counting. I've talked to accountants in the last year who are counting down the days and the hours of how until when they retire. Like, what a way to live.
Darren, we've hit the wall on time. So why don't you, I hate to end it on a sour note. So one inspirational thought or final thought for our listeners who are going through this transitioning time to keep them pushing along and doing better. What's your idea?
Don't do it by yourself. Do it in a team of people. Reach out and make a request and ask for help. Ask for help. Don't be the Lone Ranger. The Lone Ranger always had Tonto, right? So don't be the Lone Ranger. So many accountants I see are the Lone Rangers because, well, I'm an introvert. I don't like to socialize with people. I'm not a networker. I'm not an extrovert person. Just ask for help. Send the email, send the text messages, make the phone call, ask for help. Say, listen, I got to make a major decision. I'm solving for this problem or challenge right now in my life. It's a major milestone I got to overcome. I'm looking at retiring. I don't know what the next steps are. Can we go for a bite to eat? Can we go for a breakfast or a lunch or a coffee? Or can we have a conversation? I just need some guidance or direction on what's the next steps of what to do, or what are my options. That's a big thing for a lot of them. Ask for help.
Darren, thank you so much. Before we let you go, where can people get more information about you, what you and Ron are doing, all that stuff?
You can go to darrenjacklin.com, and that will link you to everything we do, from philanthropy to Smashing Numbers to everything I'm doing around the world with our projects and portfolio of companies. Just go to darrenjacklin.com.
Perfect. Darren, Sir Darren, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Sir.
Thank you, Darren.
All right, we're going to recap what we learned. When Ron, you missed the last few episodes, Liz and I did the...
We did whatever we wanted. You weren't here.
Because I wasn't around to monitor.
We did the trivia question first, and then we did the recap. It was a real good cliffhanger. So, and Ron's got insider access. I got GMAP now. But why don't we do the trivia question first?
All right.
What do you got?
Okay. Oh, gosh. I have so many.
Good one.
Okay. So Sir Darren is sort of a deep dude, right? We know this.
Deep.
We learned he's
Deep
very...
dude.
He's a deep dude. So this one is, if you decided to go on a spiritual journey or a hike with Darren, where would you go and what would you do to go on a spiritual journey? Where would you go? What would you do?
Yeah, I wouldn't go anywhere special. I just go anywhere because everything is special, right? So that's kind of the generic answer. But I remember there was a Buddhist who held up a flower in front of a lot of monks, and people for an hour, and people are staring at him. One guy starts smiling, and he says, "You've received it." The one who smiled. It's like, that's the lesson. So what I heard from Darren, what I love to do with Darren is just be somewhere. It doesn't matter where, because maybe I'll receive it.
Nice. Very nice.
I'm going to Bhutan. Screw that. Let's.
Well, what are you going to do in Bhutan?
We're gonna hike the Tibetan mountains.
How about you?
So I was going to go on an internal journey. I want to go on a guided trip, like psilocybin kind of guided trip. I want to go in. I want to go in there and see what's going on.
Oh, the crying and
the crying. Oh, please, that would be so hard. I'll cry
the
like as I
vomiting,
get off
the
the plane.
butterflies, the amazing. I have a friend who did this. It was transformative for.
Yeah, no, I know. I have so many Michael Bahalin's book blew my mind. So that's where
Yeah,
I
I can put you in touch with someone. They swear by it.
Right.
Okay, now let's recap what we learned. I want to remind our listeners, we want to hear what you learned too from Sir Darren.
Yes,
So in the
please.
show notes, put it in there. Ron, he's your partner. You go first.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things. One, don't do it alone, right? Don't do it alone.
Yeah.
Two, um, if you're uncertain about what to do about selling, talk to people, talk to other people. The only way you're going to learn is if you actually ask somebody for some assistance. And one of the things I like to say, a little insider access, you never get what you don't ask for.
True. It's truth. Liz, what was your takeaways?
So, we have these pods that we just launched at this quarter with our members, and they are a small group, almost like accountability groups on steroids. So it's sort of based off the 12-week year. And we just finished one today. So I'm sort of all jacked up on it. And it was the CFO experience. And so we were talking a lot about it, and everyone was working on one thing. And one of the groups was talking about how one of the people in the groups was talking about how they want to sell their firm. And so for me, the biggest takeaways, I will now go share these things, or I love just some of the barometer points that Darren said, like the 70% bookkeeping, 30% tax, and then the ancillary services, like being able to partner up. I love talking strategic partnerships, but being able to partner up with people to do the CFO, the estate planning, the tax planning, all of those things. And then same thing for those who want to sell. I mean, he said everybody, the average age is 63 years old or something like that. That's stunning. And I see that here every day. And so I know that there are people who are starting to plan, and we know it takes 3 to 5 years to get like a stuff in order. So just some really great takeaways for our members today.
Yeah.
I liked the number 17 years is the average client retention. That was an eye opener for me.
Yeah.
Which then supported his argument that if you're going to stay, you can acquire, and these clients probably will stick around. It's easier to acquire revenue than build revenue. I thought was a great insight too. And always assume you're being observed. I thought that was powerful too.
Yeah.
Because you never know how that's going to come back to serve you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. We want to know what
good.
your feedback was too. Put it in the show notes. Ron, you got that dangerous weapon of yours that you carry around. There it is. This is the insider access, something Ron's doing at our offices that you can use at yours.
All right, here we go. I kind of let the cat out of the bag a little bit when I said your net worth is your network, right? Mike and I belong to networking groups. Liz belongs to networking groups. Darren belongs to networking groups, right? And while we have established roles, responsibilities in companies, we're always looking to meet and learn. So that's the insider access. Participate in life. Participate in networking. Get out there. You never know who you're going to run into that could lead to something. Just sitting home and doing nothing is not a recipe for success. So make it happen. The path may not be clear, but ask somebody for assistance as well, and you'll be on your way.
Boom.
Boom! Come on,
did it.
Liz.
I did it.
Ron, dropping knowledge bombs. I have one last tip for you before we leave is GMAP Now task. If you do, you'll see results. Do you know they say the most important statements are the cash flow statement, the P&L, the balance sheet. None of that's true. Instead, you want what's called the 5-12-60. And what that is, they're all bank statements. Bank statements for 5 years. Each month, that's 12 months. Collectively, that's 60 statements. That is the most powerful, measurable, hard statistic on the health of an organization. If you're going to sell your organization, drop the 5-12-60, and it better be strong and show a growing strength. Acquirers love that, and you'll get top dollar.
That's where you get the more EBITDA, right? Better EBITDA or multiple.
Right.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. Darren, awesome job. Thank you for being a guest here. Listeners, thank you so much as well. Don't forget to review and subscribe so you never miss an episode of Grow My Accounting Practice Podcast. And
We'd love to see you as a listener, also as a partner to us at Profit First Professionals. You can join our organization. There is a massive need. Can I say it loud enough? Tariffs that are triggering the transfer of the economy or transition the economy and the necessity to focus on profit in a new way. Do you know who has a solution for this? Profit First Professionals. and you can provide it to your clients. So go to profitfirstprofessionals.com, choose the option to apply. You'll talk with Ron or Liz. We'll tell you how PFPs are navigating economic shift, driving profit for their clients, driving more profit than ever for themselves. So go visit profitfirstprofessionals.com right now.
Thanks, everybody.